a little bit. It will take time.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, so setting up our meeting for YouTube Live, and then we can get started. All right. As you can see, we're still on Zoom, but definitely we're started. We're on live right now. To our viewers here today, we have Valerie. She is, wait, I should not say something. You should introduce yourself, who you are, what you do. That way you can connect with our viewers.
Sure, I can
Go
do
ahead,
that.
Valerie.
Hi, I'm Valerie Arbeau. I am from Calgary,
Can you
Alberta,
hear?
in Canada. And I am a physiotherapist during the day. I've been doing that for a long time. And recently, I'm Valerie Arbeau. I am from Calgary, Alberta, in Canada. And I am a physiotherapist during the day. I've been doing that for a long time. Hi, I'm Valerie Arbeau.
Okay, hold on. Something is not right here.
In Canada. No worries.
It's
I am a physiotherapist.
So I wonder why it's not doing the, I have done this before, but now it's like, can you hear me?
I can hear you fine, yes.
Where am I missing? Hold on. Sorry about this.
No problem.
What is this that's missing? Hold on. What is this that's missing? Okay, I guess I have to figure this out. So what I'm gonna do right now is we'll do it like a regular interview, and then I'll just upload it. I'm sorry about this. So okay, I guess I have to. Okay, let's go back.
I admire you for doing the tech because it's not my forte.
Well, I can hear you better now, and it says it's live on YouTube. So what I'm gonna do probably is to just cut it off later, but we can go ahead and do this now.
Sure.
And we'll just modify it a little bit later or whatever. I mean, there's always ways to do this. So anyway, to get started, please reintroduce yourself again, because this sounds like the right time now. It's not making noise, and it's good to go.
Okay. I'm Valerie Arbeau. I am a physiotherapist, long-time physiotherapist. I graduated as a life and health coach at the beginning of the year. I've been coaching for a little bit longer than that, but yeah, so I'm married to Scott. We've been married, it'll be 30 years in June.
Wow.
And we have 2 children. Our oldest just turned 20 this week, and our youngest will be 17 in a couple of weeks.
All right. So for those moms out there who are, in the same situation you are, 2 kids, 2 girls, I mean, I'm sure they can relate, how life is with having 2 girls at home. I mean, you must be busy making them pretty.
Well, my story is a little different. So I'll just let you know kind of how our journey has been. So Scott and I have been married, as I mentioned, almost 30 years. So we waited probably about 3 years to get our family. And we were blessed with getting pregnant, but it took 7 years. So we had to deal with infertility for 7 years. So
Oh.
it got to be exhausting every month, hoping your cycle didn't come, and every month your cycle was there. So when I was 38, we decided at my 38th birthday, which is in the summer, that would be it. We would not be trying anymore. I had fibroids removed in 2000, and they had told us at that time, you know, if you want to get pregnant, then you really should try IVF, in vitro. And we decided, I emotionally didn't think I could do it. So I just said, you know what, I think we just need to stop, because we had been 7 years trying.
Yeah.
So that was my birthday's at the end of July. And then the very next month in August, I was pregnant. And I knew that I was pregnant. And I remember saying to my husband, I think we probably should go get a pregnancy kit. And he was very cute. So we went to the mall, we got the pregnancy kit, and he said, can we do it now? Can we find a bathroom and do it? I'm like, honey, I really think this is something we should do at home.
You guys so excited, huh?
Oh, we were just both, oh my goodness, I can't tell you there how elated we were. It was such a beautiful time. We had been praying for 7 years. We had been trying for 7 years. We
Wow.
had fun trying, but you know, after a while it gets wearing.
Yeah.
And so to actually find out that we were really pregnant, that was the closest I've ever been to God. I was just so excited. Scott was just over the moon, just watching the watching the test. He was like a little boy. He's like, oh, it says here you're pregnant. I said, yes, honey, I'm pregnant. I had a gorgeous pregnancy. I was blessed. I did not have nausea. I didn't gain any excess weight. I just gained weight on the front. And it was just, as I say, such a beautiful time. We were so close to God, because we just felt that our dreams were coming true. God had finally answered our prayers after 7 years, and we were getting to be parents. So when we had a prolapsed cord, I didn't even know a cord could prolapse. So the umbilical cord came out first. I didn't know I was dilated. And part of that was I was going for a C-section, because I'd had the fibroid surgery in 2000, where they'd removed 6 fibroids. I was not allowed to go into labor. So I ended up having a planned C-section, but our daughter came before then. The cord prolapsed. It was a Friday morning. I had a bad chest infection, so I was doing a lot of coughing. And so unfortunately, the cord came out. I thought it was our daughter's foot, but it was the umbilical cord, because I knew she was breech. So I traveled to the hospital on all fours, hands and knees, with some gentleman's hand up my vagina, holding everything in place till we got to the hospital. I have no idea how my husband managed to drive to the hospital, but he was there for the birth of our firstborn. I had an emergency C-section, so I didn't get to experience that piece. And our little girl was a heart rate less than 60, and the newborn's supposed to be 120. She was gray, so she was basically dying. So they resuscitated her, put her in the intensive care unit. And because my husband and I are both healthcare workers, we're both used to working in the intensive care unit. So it's like, oh yeah, people get intubated, you know, they get off the ventilator, we, you know, move on with life. And so that's what we were kind of expecting. And it took about 24 to 48 hours to fully appreciate the severity of the injury that our oldest daughter had. So she was given a year to live. Well, actually, it was interesting. She was born Friday. On the Monday, the neonatologist came back in to work, and he fully expected Melody Ann to be gone. So Melody Ann is survived. Not only did she survive the year prognosis that they gave her, as I mentioned, she's 20. She just had her birthday earlier this week.
Oh, so she's a miracle baby.
She truly, truly is a miracle baby. We are so blessed. God has been gracious to us, but I have to say, once we realized what was going on with Melody Ann, she is G-tube fed, so she's not able to eat via her mouth. She does not speak. She's dependent for all care. She's in a wheelchair. So she can't really do anything for herself, but she is such a joy. She has the biggest smile. She has the heartiest laugh. But I have to say, when she was born and when we realized the severity of what was going on, I was mad. I was really mad at God. I didn't have anything to say to him. And then when we were given the prognosis of just a year, it was like, I can't believe this is happening. We've waited 7 years, Lord. You blessed us with a beautiful pregnancy. And then this, like, really? So we decided that it was going to be Melody Ann's, we're going to give her the best we could for that year.
Mm.
And even though I didn't have anything to say to God, I wanted Melody Ann to know who Jesus was. Because as parents, we felt that it was our duty and obligation to teach our children who our Lord is.
Mm-hmm.
So every morning we sang the 5 songs, her Jesus songs, we call them. Then we would have worship, we would read a little story, we would sing another song, and then we would finish with prayer. So we did that every morning. That was my only thread of connection to God for quite a while. And I have to say, through that, and through God working in Melody Ann's life and showing up in her life, I was able to reestablish my own relationship with the Lord.
Wow.
So we were blessed with glimpses of how Melody Ann's life was impacting other people. At a young age, we realized, oh, wow, she's actually learning things. We treated her like we would treat any other child. So we taught her colors, we taught her numbers. We just spoke with her, even though she couldn't speak back to us. We just spoke to her and showed her things, told her things, taught her things, not really knowing if she was actually taking any of this in. But she was.
If I may interrupt you,
Yes.
Did it come to a point where she starts talking?
No.
No.
But I will tell you something in a minute.
Okay, I'll wait. I'm getting excited.
What happened? She started to express in other ways. For instance, we asked her, Melody Ann, can you show us what key on this toy is purple? And she did. And we're like, okay. We thought maybe that was the fluke. Can you show us the yellow key? And she did. So from there, we realized that she was actually absorbing her environment. She was actually learning what we were teaching her. And when she was about 3 or 4, we had an assessment, and one lady came and said to her, there's no reason why Melody Ann can't use a computer. And we're like, oh, it never even dawned on us. It wasn't on our radar. So from there, we actually were able to teach Melody Ann how to communicate with us. So it started with low tech. So it started with pictures, symbols, with words. And we didn't realize over time, we learned that she was actually reading. So she now uses a communication device. So it's kind of like an iPad tablet, kind of computer tablet. And it highlights 4 quadrants. So she has buttons on her tray, on her wheelchair tray. And so she'll hit a button and it will highlight one of the quadrants. And then she'll hit another button and it will go row by row. She'll hit another button and it will go cell by cell. So she's able to utilize the phrases and the words and create sentences to talk to us.
Wow.
So we were pretty excited. And what we realized, and this is not for just people with children with disabilities, this is all children. When you raise the bar, sometimes, or most of the time, if not all the time, your child will rise to it. And so that's what we did with Melody Ann. So, we just kept raising the bar and challenging her with something else. And yeah, she's just been amazing. And part of that has been us having to, number one, things that we've learned are being resilient. Just continue, just be consistent. Number 2 was changing your perspective. So I was raised in England. I now live in Canada, and I never learned to figure skate or go ice skating because it doesn't get that cold where the lakes and ponds freeze. So in my mind, I had all these dreams for my girl. She was going to figure skate. She was going to do this. She was going to do that. And so we had to learn to shift our perspective. The dreams that we had to let them go, which was so hard because we spent 9 months creating these dreams.
Yeah.
I remember reading, I think it's J.P. Kinsley. She wrote a poem called Welcome to Holland. And what that was, she had raised a child with a disability, and she wrote this poem from the perspective of going on a trip. So she was going to Italy. She'd planned it. She'd organized everything, what she was going to see, where she was going to go, what she was going to eat. And then she gets off the plane and it's like, welcome to Holland. And she's like, wait a minute, I signed up for Italy. And what she talked about was, okay, I had planned, and in my mind, I was going to Italy, but now I'm at Holland. In Holland, I can actually appreciate Holland and enjoy Holland and learn more about Holland. And so that was the perspective that she used, and the analogy that she used to help mothers shift their perspective to raising a child with a disability. So that was one of the things that we were able to do. So even though we had many hard times, Melody Ann was quite sick. We were told she would pass away from respiratory infection, as I mentioned earlier, by the time she was a year, but she had a very strong cough, and we believe that that's what kept her going. Plus, the care that we gave her, and we just felt that give her everything that we would give any other child. So even though we had to shift perspective, we actually did other things for Melody Ann. So one of the things that we were able to do, we dared to dream. So you mentioned earlier about Melody Ann talking. She uses a communication device, but what we wanted to do was create a camp for kids that use communication devices, because we wanted Melody Ann to experience camp like regular kids experience camp. One of her speech language pathologists, Trisha, or she goes by Trish, had gone to a conference, and they talked about closing the communication gap for children. And one of the speakers runs a camp in Idaho, in Nampa, Idaho. So Trish told us about this camp, and she said, "Oh, it's only $75." I'm like, "Well, okay, I guess we could do that." But it was a 2-day drive because we live in Canada, and this was in northern Idaho. So anyway, we did do that. I went with my pad and my pen, and I was taking all kinds of notes, because in my mind, I was going to run a camp or set up a camp here in Canada. And we were blessed. We went for 4 years in a row, because we just so loved the community. We just so loved watching the kids develop, and just having the opportunity to network with other parents and just be with people that understood and were walking the same walk. And what we were really blessed was the director, Anne Kuhlmeier, agreed to help us set up a camp in Alberta. So we had our first camp in 2016. And we've been doing a camp every year since. So during COVID, we did have to pivot to online. And this year we're going back to in person. So we've had to, again, learning to shift with the situation and the circumstances. So our initial camps were family camps, where we had the whole family come.
So is it like a family, the whole family goes? Yeah.
So we had activities for the siblings, we had presentations for the parents, and we had the campers, the children using communication devices. They partnered with a student from the University of Alberta, a speech language pathology student. So it was a win-win situation. The campers got one-to-one with having a SLP, speech language pathologist student, and then the students got credits for working at our camp. So it was a beautiful way to sort of, create a camp atmosphere, and know that these campers were getting one-to-one care, and the speech language pathologists were also, the students were getting something to help with their training. So we did family camp, then we did 2 years of online, and this year we're not able to go back to the place that we used to have the family camp. So we're actually going to be doing a day camp this year. So we're really excited. So we're in the planning stages of that right now. Now I have to say, I don't do all the work. I am the parent voice on this committee, the executive committee for the camp. I have to just give a shout out to March of Dimes Canada. They partnered with the University of Alberta, and they are the ones that put on the camp. So
wow, that's really interesting, because due to COVID, I talked to a friend who is a psychologist, I think, and she said in the school, because she works in the school, and she covers a few schools, and she told me that because of COVID, there are like the number of children who can't talk. It's like they can't express, because we were so, stay home, and then parents when they come home, they have to be separated, not like, there's just so many changes when COVID hit. And so that impacted a lot of children that now there's so many problems
Yes.
for the children. They don't know how to behave, they don't know how to express. And because being little, they because they don't know how to express it, then they end up like throwing tantrums, or
Yeah.
how it is, their way of expressing, I would say.
Yes.
So it's so sad when I heard about that. I said, oh my gosh, that's so sad, because children are like angels, right? They're like uh so beautiful. They have everything that they can look forward to,
Yes.
because they're so open to anything. And
Mhm.
to think that they're being impacted by this, I can't even imagine what tomorrow brings, for these children. It's
Yeah.
it's really hard. When we were talking about this, and I was like, oh my gosh, my mind is like, Lord, what can we do to do something? Because I also teach. So my heart goes to the children, right?
Yes.
So it's so close to my heart, and it's so sad to even think about it.
Mhm.
So I
Yeah.
was like kind of interested to hear more about your program, because this is kind of, maybe they are like what we call normal, they can talk, yeah, but then even if they are normal, it still impacted, if affected them to the point where they don't know how to socialize, they don't know
Exactly.
how to talk in a not a proper way to express their feelings or emotions. And
Mhm.
there's a way to help those children.
Yes. It is quite scary to think what the long-term impact is going to be
Yes.
over time. COVID has sort of hit every family, and development of many of our children. And that will bring me to teens, with regards to mental health issues are just growing exponentially among our teenagers. And it's quite scary to think what the future holds for them,
Mhm.
with the effects of COVID, the lockdown, the
Yeah.
isolation, and all that goes with that.
Yes, it's really
Yeah,
sad.
yeah,
And the I would kind of say that right now it's like my mind is, just hope for the best and let God take care of everything. But if we
yeah.
can do something, it
Hmm.
would be uh, our little way to help them. I would love to be able to do something like that too. Yeah.
Yes. So
So
we feel very blessed to have been able to start this camp, and also, as I mentioned, it's not anything that I'm doing at this point in time. Just so grateful that March of Dimes of Canada and the University of Alberta, the Speech Language Pathology Department, have the same passion that I do and my husband does, to create a space for these children that don't have an audible voice to be able to use their
yeah,
electronic voice. So that's been
that's beautiful.
huge, huge. Yeah. One of the other things we had to do, with daring to, we didn't have to do, but we dared to dream. Often when parents have children with disabilities, they don't really think too much into the future because they're so consumed with the right now.
Yeah, yeah.
I think you can appreciate that caring for a child that is totally dependent,
Mhm.
can be all consuming. And so one of the things that happened for us, when Melody Ann was 12, my husband and I kind of dreamed about, wow, wouldn't it be lovely if Melody Ann could have her own home? But financially, we weren't in a position to be able to do that. And we kind of put that on the back burner. We were fortunate to have a caregiver, from the Philippines, who was
Oh,
with us for 6.5 years. We were
wow.
so blessed because both my husband and I don't have family where we live. My family's in England and my brother's in New Zealand, and my husband's, brothers are kind of scattered across Canada. So really, our caregiver, was the one that knew Melody Ann the best. knew her care, knew what she was like when she's starting to get sick. And so we were so blessed to have her for 6.5 years. And then she decided she was going to move to a different position. We were happy for her, but devastated at the same time, because we're like, okay,
Yeah.
we need to do something that's going to be sustainable here. So that's what kickstarted my husband and I into revisiting Melody Ann having her own home, launching her into independence. We had no idea how it was going to work. This truly, truly was a God thing. So we, long story short, were able to leave our family home and leave Melody Ann in it. And we were able to, through an agency, find 2 of the young ladies with disabilities to be her roommates.
Oh.
And another God thing with the agency, the president at the time, the woman that started this agency, had a son with a disability and did the same thing. She set up a home for him and a friend of another friend that had a disability. And I actually treated, as a physiotherapist, treated her son many years ago. And I remember her telling me about her agency and how, how she set it up, and said, oh yeah, I should, come and see you guys sometime, but never did. And then the Lord crossed our paths, and she was the one that came to visit us and said, okay, so what is it you want for your child as far as living arrangements? So she worked very closely with us, and we were able to start Eden House. So Melody Ann's middle name is Eden. And then also this was a new beginning for her, living life independently. So this is now 4 years.
Wow.
We launched her when she was almost 16. There was a lot of mama guilt. I'm abandoning my child, but I have to say she is thriving. She is doing so well. She is communicating with a communication device. She has to advocate for herself. She has to make herself understood, because as a mom, and her dad, we would anticipate her needs. So she would maybe say one word on the communication device, and then we would anticipate. But now she has to sort of, talk more in sentences, and she has to make herself understood. So, and the beautiful thing, we were able to set Melody Ann up with her 2 housemates, and our caregiver that we had for 6.5 years, came back. So she's actually working with Melody Ann now, which is just so amazing, because she knows Melody Ann so well.
Wow.
So we are so blessed. And to think that we have launched Melody Ann to be living independent of us. Obviously, she needs 24-hour care, but she's independent of her parents. She's going here, there, and everywhere. She's doing all kinds of things. And her housemates, we've been able to give them an opportunity to live independent of their parents, and also provide a workplace. I think there's about 13 staff that are working there. So we dared to dream, and we launched our child to live an independent life of her parents. So my passion is to help other families dare to dream.
Wow, that's beautiful. I mean, I'm speechless. Like, God really has a way of like putting everything together.
Awesome.
And that's what happened to you,
He is awesome. Yes, we're so
Beautiful.
blessed, so blessed. And so the other side to this too is we have, as I mentioned, 2 children, 2 daughters. So our youngest, born a girl, identifying as non-binary. So this has been something my husband and I have had to journey with. So not wanting to identify as male or female. They got to remember the pronouns. They were diagnosed with ADHD in grade 5, at the end of grade 5. And so we kind of knew there was something, because this child did not want to be scheduled. Melody Ann, our oldest, needed to be scheduled because medications, changing position, all of this kind of stuff. So she needed to be scheduled. So as a mom, I'm just like, okay, and this is what you hear, get your child on a schedule.
Yeah.
But our youngest did not want to be scheduled. And we knew there was kind of something a little off, and very smart. But we didn't quite know what it was until we got to about grade 5 and I started doing some research. I'm like, this looks like ADHD. So on top of dealing with Melody Ann and all her challenges and her being totally dependent for care, now we have a second child where our hopes and dreams that we had for Melody Ann were kind of transferred to our youngest, Ebony. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, now we have another diagnosis to deal with. So this has been a journey. dealing with sort of the ADHD, and just of late we are looking at emotional dysregulation. And I kind of coined the phrase, it's not me, it's not my phrase, but I just kind of remember saying it like, she's not handling her, or they're not handling their emotions very well. Like they would kind of blow up when it wasn't necessary to blow up, and sort of the reaction was just greater than it really needed to be for the situation. So of late we have had a diagnosis of emotional dysregulation for this child as well. So, and as we were mentioning earlier, with that comes the mental health issues, and because of COVID, it's just exploded it. It's just been crazy, and it does concern me for our children for the future. So we are blessed that we have a child that's loving, we can communicate with them. It is something that with some help can be managed. It's not anything that's going to go away, but it can be managed, but the child has to be on board. And this is where with ADHD, the maturity in some areas of the executive functioning of the brain is great, and other areas not so much. And we didn't realize until not long ago, there's a 3 to 5 rule. So even though some areas of the brain are fully developed and some are a little more mature than others, other areas of the brain may be, and especially in the executive functioning area, 3 to 5 years behind.
Oh,
so even though, and I did a lot of, well, can't you just, and why can't you just, and now that I'm looking back, and I'm not beating myself up, because I can only work with the knowledge that I have. But it was kind of like, okay, so would I have asked say that my child is now 16, almost 17, would I have asked a 11-year-old to do what I'm asking this 16-year-old to do? And so just learning to, again, shift perspective.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we've been having to do quite a bit of that. And all of that to say that, because of my journey, God has not left our side, my husband and I. I'm blessed to be, as I mentioned earlier, almost married 30 years. I'm fortunate that my husband and I are on the same page. And we are blessed that God has given us glimpses of how he's worked in the lives of our children. We are still in the situation with our youngest. With Melody Ann, God has shown us over the years up-teen times of how Melody Ann's life has blessed others. We are still working through our story with our youngest, but we are trusting that God has us on this journey for a reason. And so
how old is your youngest now?
She'll be 7. They will be 17. Sorry, I'm still working with these pronouns. They will be 17 next month.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But I am just trusting that God will allow us to utilize the story to help others along the journey. And so as a health and life coach, my hope and dream is to encourage other parents to dare to dream, and also to be alongside them as they journey parenting their children, to be able to encourage them. One of the things that I'm finding, it's really hard, and I'm sure you can appreciate, as a mom, caring for your children can be all consuming. But what I'm learning, and what I've learned over the years, is I need to take care of me too. I can't give from an empty cup.
Yes.
I need to put on the oxygen mask so that I can help and be the best version of me for my children.
Right.
So that's part of what I want to be able to give back to the community of special needs families, guidance in how to claim back your life and be the best version of you for your kids.
Yes, that's really important, because a lot of moms, actually, I'm one. Like, okay, I pour everything in. I'll just do this later. If something for me, I'll do it later. I have time. What's important is what's in front of me, my family, my child, but I have it's not like I have a regret. I would do it all over again, but smarter.
Yes.
I would save time for myself.
Yes, exactly.
This is a reminder for all parents, that it's, you don't have to feel guilty if you save a little bit time for yourself.
Exactly.
To take care of yourself, because Yeah, it's like the you mentioned about the mask on the airplane, you don't put the mask to the child first. You do it on you first, and then
Exactly.
you put it on whoever is you need to save. Because how can you, if you're saved already, then you have that, you know, opportunity to save more. But if you are not able to because you did not put the mask on, then how
Mhm.
can you do
Right.
that? You really, the seconds count. Those
Absolutely.
few seconds count. So this is the same thing as what life as a mom. And so for all the moms out there, don't be guilty that you take time off for yourself.
Hmm.
Love yourself first, and then
Absolutely.
you can share it.
Amen. Yes. And so that's what I'm all about, is encouraging moms and helping them to carve out time for themselves,
Right.
and just realize the importance, because we're very good at prioritizing our children, um, and we need to prioritize ourselves.
Yes, yes. So that's so sweet, Valerie. I mean, you have your journey was just like so impactful because it's tough, having a child that you have to attend, and there's a lot of challenges. But from just talking to you, I can see you are so happy and just enjoying the ride of this journey, even if it's challenging. And that's very, very important, that no matter how bad situations come or end up with, because it's tough, because like you were waiting for that, right?
Yes.
I totally can relate to you because I also lost a child.
I'm
And I
sorry.
was just like you, I was waiting, like looking forward. That's like my, okay, if I have it, I'm good. I'm okay. Nothing else. It's,
Yes.
that moment, you always have that something that you really wanted. And then if something happens, like me, I lost it. So, then it's just like the end of the world, which is not really. God has something for you
Yes.
all the time. Anything that happens, God has
Mhm.
preparing you for what's next for you.
Yes. I have a
Right?
friend that I never forget this phrase. She said, no experience is wasted with God.
Wow. Yes, that's very true.
Hmm.
No experience is wasted when God is with you,
Amen.
because, yeah, there is something else going to happen.
Yes.
It's like, and I totally agree with that, because it sometimes when I look back in my life, I would say to myself, oh, okay, is that's why it happened that way, because you're preparing me for
Yes.
something here,
Yes.
which we don't really think about it at that time, because we were like consumed to, oh, I didn't get what I want. And, you know, but really, if you learn to look back, you will see how God has prepared you all
Yes.
the time. Because I also believe that before we were even born, God already has plans for us.
Absolutely.
We have to open up, ready to accept, embrace it,
Yes.
and do it. Because if you're not gonna take action, nothing's gonna happen,
That's
right?
right.
You have to listen and hear Him all the time
Mhm.
and do it.
Yes.
Obey Him, follow Him, and trust in God. So,
Amen.
you mentioned about, I really love the way you talk about your journey. I enjoyed every moment of it because it's so inspiring to hear you talk about it, and full of passion, and plus the fact that you really have a good perspective out of it, shifting our perspective, and you really are good with that. I can see from based on when you're telling the story, your journey. So you mentioned about the child of a king, and I like that word. So could you please kind of, share a little bit of, what is it to be a child of the King?
Well, thank you for asking. I have not always been a Christian. I was raised in sort of somewhat of a Christian home. My family took us to church. I'm one of 5 children. I'm the oldest of 4 girls, and then we have an 8-year gap, and then my baby brother. So I remember as a young child going to church, and then that kind of fell off. And when I was trying to think now, I was in training for my physiotherapy, and I remember thinking there's got to be more to life than just doing the day to day. Not really understanding that the Holy Spirit was working with me and drawing me. And I remember being, as a student, being housed with a Seventh-day Adventist girl, and she was Caucasian. So she was the first white Seventh-day Adventist I actually met, because my mother was raised Seventh-day Adventist. Didn't necessarily sort of push it on us as children, and there was no sort of Seventh-day Adventist presence when I was a child, where we grew up. So I remember being kind of drawn and just kind of, wanting to kind of move away from the lifestyle that I'd previously been living. And it was interesting because Jane Hunt is the name of the young lady that I was housed with, had been praying that she could lead someone to Christ. And so God had put us in the same home. And what drew me was her peace, the peace that she emanated. She did not preach to me. She did not beat me over the head with the Bible. She just lived a Christian life. How she responded to situations, how she dealt with circumstances, it just oozed peace. And I was just at a place in my life where that's what I wanted. I just need peace. My mother to this day still says, I just need peace in my soul. And that's what I was just craving, was just peace. So it was just interesting how God brought us together. And from there, I have been journeying with the Lord. I had my little oops when Melody Ann was born, because I was so devastated that this could happen to me and my husband Scott. But I am on a mission to be a kingdom influencer. I have kind of lived a number of years now, sort of being A-type personality, in charge kind of person. But over the years, especially since having Melody Ann, and definitely when we had Eden House come into being, because I remember thinking, God, this is too big for me to organize. Like I can't pull this off, create a home for our oldest daughter. And I had to learn to take a back seat and let God be in the driving seat. And so that's when I kind of started to really deepen my relationship with the Lord. And now, as I'm, working, especially with our youngest, who is not necessarily walking with the Lord, I have to be on my knees. I have to be modeling a relationship with the Lord, because that's the only Bible that my youngest child is seeing right now. And so I am committed and on a mission to lead others by how I live my life. I want Jesus to emanate through me. I want him to use me. I want him to be first and foremost in my life.
So I want to point out to you, because you are a child of a king, does that mean you are a princess?
Absolutely.
We're
talking royalty. You are looking at royalty.
Yes. All right. I like that. Princess Valerie.
Yes, and it's just so amazing when you look at what all that the Lord has done for us, and we can be called a child of the King, making us princesses. We are his special daughters. He loves us with an everlasting love. He draws us with loving kindness. We are honored and precious in his sight. It's just amazing.
I love that. I love that. Yes, we are. We are always sons and daughters of God. So we are, if he's a king, then yes, we are princesses and prince, or king and queen. Oh. So for now, where are you going to, to start you already started, I'd say, but to make a positive difference in the lives of others, what are you doing right now? What are you building right now, aside from what you've started?
So right now I am working on expanding my coaching business, health and life coaching.
Mhm.
I'm offering at the moment one-to-one coaching because I'm still working as a physiotherapist and transitioning into coaching because that's where my passion is. I have loved being a physiotherapist and I've done many different areas of physiotherapy, but I'm just feeling called to make
Mhm.
more of an impact for the kingdom. To be able to freely talk about my Lord, to be able to
Mhm.
encourage others into a relationship with the Lord, or to rekindle their relationship with their Lord, because mine kind of had to be rekindled as well after Melody Ann was born. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm working. As I mentioned, passionate about helping other families either create a future for their child with disabilities. As I mentioned earlier, we often get consumed and can't look past our everyday to
Yeah.
what would it look like? What would it look like for me? I can't tell you how wonderful it has been for me just to be able to visit Melody Ann and just be mom. I don't
Mhm.
have to think about her medications. I don't have to think about, does she need to be changed? I don't have to think about, does she need a position change? I can just go and be mom. And that has been so freeing to be able to sort of have a slightly different relationship with her, where I don't have to be thinking and have a dozen other hats on. I can just,
Mhm.
and so I really want to be able to give that to other parents, just to challenge them to dare to dream,
Mhm.
for moms to be able to, yeah, put yourself high, if not at the top of your priority list. You have to take care of you. And I think for me, because I've learned to do that over the years, that's why I've been able to survive,
Mhm.
why
Mhm.
I've been able to, launch my child, because you have to come from a place of calm, even though initially when we started Eden House, it was out of, because we were in kind of a crisis situation. But I want other families to not leave it to be a crisis situation, to plan ahead.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And so I'm just thinking, you mentioned dare to dream, right?
Mm.
So in 5 years from now, what is your dare to dream?
What is my
I
dare?
would love to know.
My dare to dream. My dare to dream would be coaching full time,
Uh-huh.
be able to transition out of my physiotherapy job, to retire my husband is a nurse, retire him
Oh,
from nursing. And I would love to dare to dream for him. My husband is working with dementia care. And
mm,
what he is a nurse, sort of working in a consultative role, and working on a team of dementia care nurses, and an occupational therapist, I think, is also on the team. I would dare to dream, I would love for him to have a consulting business, because what we're finding is a lot of families don't really know how to navigate dementia
right.
and how
Right.
to, interact with their loved one that has dementia.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that education piece, my husband is phenomenal at it, and I would just love for him to be able to do that. That's my dare to do.
Wow.
Yeah.
Those are beautiful dreams. I love that. I love that. You know, and just think that before I continue, I want to say thank you to your husband for being a nurse. You know, the frontliners. It was tough during COVID, and not only nurse, I believe it's like everybody who's in a medical
Yes.
position to assist people. It was tough. It was tough,
And
but
we're still dealing with it. We're in where I am right now, in Alberta, Canada. We're into wave 6.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, the thing is, when it started, it was just so scary because nobody really knows how to face it, and yet they have to be the first one to be like, what you call this? They're the not the bullets, but they're like the punching bag. They start. They're
Yes.
they're in the front line, and it was difficult not knowing what's going to happen, because
Right.
I watch some, like I watch some news. Sometimes I don't watch a lot of news because it drains me.
Right.
There's just so much negativity, but during that time I watched a little bit to kind of see what's going on, and it really, it kind of drains me when I see nurses crying, because I mean, not drain in a way that it's negative, but it just kind of, I feel them to be able in being in that situation, where you have to be like uh, someone who has to be in the front because that's your job.
Yeah.
But what about you?
Right. Yeah.
What about you? Who's going to protect you? So
Right.
it's difficult to be in that position. So
Absolutely.
anyway, we don't want a negative, but at least we but it's like, everything passes through.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes. And with the Lord holding you with his
Mhm.
righteous right hand, there's
Yes,
nothing we
yes.
can't do because he
Right,
will lead us.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All things are
So
possible. Yes.
so it's a little bit better now. Yeah, I can see that. But I think the one thing that really hit during that time is the panic, where
Yes.
it started and you don't know what it is, and everybody just kind of panic, and which did not really help. But we know now not to panic.
Absolutely. Yes. And we have been blessed, with regards to being in healthcare, working frontline. My husband has had COVID. Melody Ann, who lives in Eden House, has had COVID, but I'm just thankful and grateful that they've been able to move through it. But again, God has a plan, and I'm just
Yes,
trusting that God is in control, and I'm believing for better things to come, just like you.
yes, 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 indeed. It has been seen so many times how God planned everything. But yeah, no matter how God planned the best for you, if you don't open up and
Mhm.
embrace it and accept it and take action,
Yes.
then all those just goes away. So we need to obey,
Mhm.
listen, and take action, whatever
Yeah.
God has planned for us. And so, anyway, I don't want to take you so long, but I really enjoyed. I mean, I want to go on and on with this because, to be honest, but yeah, I want to thank you for coming to be
Very
my
welcome.
guest. I appreciate it very much because, truth be told, this interview, learning about other people's life stories,
Mm.
gave me so much to understand life better.
Amen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then that also help others who will be watching our video.
Mhm.
So this is something uh, small. It's not really something special, like other channels. But if we can help one person, bless one
Amen.
person by sharing our story, that
Yes.
would mean a lot
Right.
to me.
And it's the gift of hope. And that was
Yes, yes.
for us with Melody Ann. She has totally been a gift of hope. We
Mhm.
had, as I mentioned, we had our dreams, we had to shift our dreams, but she has just created so much positivity and impacted so many other people's lives, given us the impetus to start a camp, to
Wow.
launch her in her own home, me to go into coaching and help other families navigate um,
Wow.
you know
So
raising a child
beautiful.
with special needs. Yeah.
So inspiring. This story is so inspiring to me, just for me. I mean, I know a lot of people will get value from this. So anyway, we're good, and hope that, to our viewers, to continue supporting us, subscribe if you can, like, comment. And if you have a
Mhm.
story, we're here to hear your story because your story matters no matter what. Your story matters. All right. So, good day to everyone. And I hope to see you again, Valerie.
Okay, well, thank you so much. I've enjoyed being a guest,
Thank
And I can be
you.
found on Facebook under my name, Valerie Arbeau, or on Instagram. So Arbeau is how I spell my last name.
Okay, what you can do, what I normally do is I will add your contact information on the description. So just let me know how to contact you, and I will be adding that to the description. That way, people who may need your assistance, or need to connect with you, then they can get in touch with you.
Awesome. That would be
We're
lovely.
doing
And
if we can serve someone, we'd
yes.
definitely love to serve you.
Amen. Yes.
Right.
Thank you so much, Bea.
Thank
Take
you.
care. God
Thank you,
bless.
Valerie. God bless you.